Rich from Michigan. How you doing today, Rich?
Hey, good, David. Thank you. How about yourself?
Well, I'm trying to get through with a cold and pretty much focused on one thing at a time. So I'm not good at multitasking into checking for callers, but I'm glad you called today. What can
Okay.
we talk about?
Hey, I was just curious to see if you had an opinion about Nokia here, whether you think we're going to get some retracement or what.
Well, certainly you wanted to see a lot more volume today. You wanted to see something like 30, 35 million shares as it broke this 609 back from July 18th. If we go back a little further, this thing's just been in a long trading range from about $5 to the low sixes, right? Going back to May 11th of 2018. What are you thinking on this?
Well, from the reading, I've seen a lot of indication that they're going to be one of the big major beneficiaries of the 5G rollout. I don't know how quick that will happen, but it is happening. Verizon's rolled them out in 4 cities, at least 3 cities, maybe 4 at this point. And I don't know. It seems like they're going to be a player in the 5G market for the next couple of years. Sounds like.
I don't know if I was going to call him a player. Kind of an also ran. I think there's much better parts to pick out in 5G, but this is going to be along for the ride. So I understand where you're coming from on this. I don't know if it's going to have a long ride or just break out with the rest of them. From CES, we found out there are going to be at least 30 new 5G cell phones come out, and I think it's the first week or second week of February, the Mobile World Congress comes out. And I think that's when you're going to see these things probably break out. I do like the kind of the energy this thing had on the way up. The death of volume today, though, kind of tells you this thing could consolidate a little longer. What you would like to see is a breakout above about 610 to 620, probably on something like about 30 million shares. And my guess is
I think what may have driven this today were, I believe there were 2 press releases yesterday that got everybody's attention. So this is just a little follow through. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe it'll come back to $6, $5.90 or so.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at the overall market, not this one in particular, thinking that there's going to be a little of a pullback, and that over the next week. I think this is kind of set up to that World Mobile Congress for a breakout, because that's generally when all those stocks run. Well, let me see if I can have the dates for that, because these things are kind of headline driven. Mobile World Congress. It's in Barcelona, Spain. Let's just see if I can get the dates here. Oh, this is becoming an exhibitor. I don't need that. See if it's got a date. Okay, it's later than that.
Actually, David, I have a friend in the business. He's an independent installer for Verizon. They subcontract a lot of that work. And I just asked him point blank, whose equipment are you putting up? And he said Nokia's. So there's a radio, and then the antenna system may come as 1 unit or 2 units, but they're all Nokia, hardware.
Yeah, it's 25th through the 28th is when that happens. Yeah. So that's when the phones that are new are going to be rolled out, and that's you may have a lead in starting on that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that this pulls back a little bit and then gets some kind of ramp into that late February time frame. But I think you're going to see a lot of ads. Those phones are probably going to start being available in March to May time frames. And again, you kind of sell the sizzle. And I think a lot of these companies, especially Apple and Samsung, don't have a lot to push. So you'll see probably a lot of the 5G companies. Nokia seems to be on the low end of the pole, though, and it tends to always be kind of a price-oriented product, not a premium product, so there's not that much money in it. That's why I'm going to say maybe you get a nice bounce off of it. I suspect the other companies that are in that sector will do a lot better on it. Of course, other ones that will be in that 5G sector are Qualcomm. It's probably the biggest winner because they've got the patent for everything. It's just kind of doing nothing here. Do you want to hang on through the break? We'll go through a few of these other 5G companies.
Okay.
Be back in a second.
All right.
Anyway, we're back with Rick, I suspect.
I'm here.
Okay. And I'm trying to remember the name of the company, and I'm half in the bag from the cold medicine, but it begins with an E. It was a big, Ericsson.
Right.
It's getting some huge contracts from installing all of it in Europe. It's being a huge player over there. We talk about keys from time to time on this show, KEYS. It's making a lot of money off selling test equipment. It's up today on another nice jag higher, 6702 for test equipment. And trying to think, it's UN2. If I can get everything cleared up here. Back here, UBNT, is that it? Yeah, Ubiquity Networks. You want to take a look at that. UNBT. They make access points. I can actually put UBNT in here. They've had kind of a pop too, back down to support. Of course, all these, I want these things to pull back. But they make access points that you put in stores and buildings and all that stuff. And beyond what we have now, this is going to be a huge business for people putting in repeaters for cell phones in buildings, especially since the signal won't penetrate nearly as far as the existing cell phone technology. So you're gonna need a lot more access points, not just for Wi-Fi, but actually for getting your cell phone signals too. So this is another one. It's kind of had a nice run. I would love for this all to kind of come back in late January, maybe the first part of February, and start getting a run up to all these products getting launched in late February at that Mobile World Conference. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here. All of these at the beginning are probably going to do fairly well. The ones that are going to do a lot better longer on are probably not going to be Ericsson or Nokia. Those will probably pop at the very beginning, but I think a lot of the other ones, long term, it's the providers like T-Mobile and Verizon, because they'll be selling the services on a ongoing business. But they'll have to put all that money up front. And that means that all these companies that are selling stuff like Ericsson are going to have several years of huge banner sales. But eventually that'll drop off. And then the companies like T-Mobile and Verizon, AT&T will start reaping that money in as they sell those services. So I think you can go ahead.
No, I didn't have any more questions. I'm just listening.
So to me, it's kind of at the very beginning. It's kind of like gold and the gold miners. There is kind of separation from those guys that are selling the equipment to make it work, and those people that are going to reap the benefits of the subscription model on the back side of it. But those guys probably have 3 or 4 or 5 years of lean times as they're putting out a lot of money, and a lot of that's not coming back. So just want to be in the part of people that are actually selling stuff and making money now, not making money later. But 2-3 years down the line, it'll be time to get into those, and those things, as they get the right market share. In fact, I think Microsoft either said it this weekend or last Friday. they've gone to more people using Windows 10 than Windows 7. And, you know, it takes a few years to get everybody moving over. But this is probably at least a 10-year, maybe a 15-year cycle of upgrading everything to 5G. So
Yeah.
a long,
Well,
long upgrade cycle. Huh?
It's pretty exciting.
Yep. Well, from an investor's standpoint, it is. You just don't want to. You just need to know that there's going to be a break at some time between the suppliers and the subscription people. But you know, like keys right now, as you're building new phones and all that stuff, you need to buy all that new test equipment. So now, for the next year, maybe 2 years, these companies like Keysight that make all that kind of equipment are going to do very well. But eventually, these companies are going to have all the test equipment they need, and this thing's probably going to go back to $20. So,
Right.
but you know, that's a couple of years down the line.
Mm-hmm. I get it. Okay.
Yep. Good enough. Thanks for the call.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. So, what else do we have?